All right. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the CEN Show, where the people's voice is valued and informative. This is your host, Rasaki Maskani. The Community Education Network.com is a platform to aid the effort of self and collective improvement. In your investigative and spare time, visit the website. We have a podcast, forum, perspective writings, an events calendar, and recommendations. I would like to present to everyone Dr. B. Dr. B is an educator that I met a few years back around 2012. I'm not really sure the exact date. Dr. B is a special educator that displays passion and care for all students. I've had the pleasure of working with him for about 4 years. I'm impressed with his ability to give great examples to convey his points of view when it relates to educational ideology. Dr. B, how are you? And what would you like to add to your introductions?
Well, I'm doing okay, and thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be able to be part of this platform as I learn, and hopefully I can share something that others can learn from too.
Yes, sir. So would you like to share any other information about yourself?
Um, well, I was born in Haiti. I was raised in Connecticut. I went to college in Georgia, and I
Okay.
came to California.
Excuse me one second. You said you were born in Haiti?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, because that was kind of muffled. I didn't hear that. Okay, keep going, please.
Yeah, so I was born in, raised in Southwest Connecticut. No, Southeast, and went to school in Georgia, and then moved out to California, and I'm still here.
Excellent.
My,
Excellent.
my background, just in education, K-12, and both as an instructor, coach, and administrator at one point, and anything in between that.
All right, good, good. So let's get started with the questions.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, Dr. B. I entered into education sort of naturally. I had an experience where I played college ball and I finished basketball, but I didn't finish. I was like a junior in school. So I had a couple of years to go. So as I was going back to school, I started working with children. I was coaching. And then right before I started teaching, I was coaching and I was an instructional aide. So I kind of morphed into education.
Yes.
How did you become an educator?
You know, I think from my teen, I always had a desire to help people. And I think it came from my insecurities growing up, where I had a lot of shortcomings. And it was always in my mind where I said, you know what, I'm going to get to that position where I can help somebody so that way they don't have to feel the same way that I felt at different stages of my life. I recall being a camp counselor at 13 years old, and I kind of gravitated more more towards the kids who were not as popular. No, I don't use the word popular, but those that, some individuals just don't attract the crowd. And I was always one of those individuals. So my job was to see, let me go talk to them and figure out what's causing them to be an outlier, and then see if I can help them find their own strength. So that way others can gravitate to whatever it is that they have to offer. And then, of course, um, by the Almighty, I was pretty good in math. So everybody wanted me to become an engineer, but I didn't have the desire to become an engineer. Because, when you're good in math, then they're like, oh, become an engineer. And from what I heard about engineering, there was no people connection. I think that's one of my biggest strengths, at least I assume it is. It's like to be around people and being at a desk, all those high paying jobs out there, and and people honor you for being an engineer. It just wasn't my cup of tea. So I went to school as I was majoring in math and science. Um, I kind of went into the special education field, but I know special education was not for me because I was majoring in minoring in severe to moderate. And my professor said, you have a lot of good skills, but your weakness is that you feel sorry for these individuals. And to be in this profession, to serve them, you can't feel sorry for them. So I bail out because my mind just cannot comprehend why their situation was what they are. So I went to general ed and kind of been there uh, since 2000. Oh my God, 2002. Yeah. So it's been a while.
Okay, well, that's good, man. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so African Americans seem to struggle in education compared to other people of color. Why do you think this happens?
Well, I think we all kind of, through our own research and education, we find out that it's somehow been indoctrinated to us to think that we're inferior. Again, in whether you read religious context or other types of written document, you find out that they've been suppressing us and telling us what we're not. Almost like a parent. If a parent keep telling their kids what they're not, then after a while, whatever it is that you say that they're not, they start believing it, even though they don't want it. But it just kind of happened, uh, for lack of a better word, organically. You keep telling somebody you're horrible, you can't do it, you're dumb. And I think the African American students, at least the ones I've encountered, um, that's the mindset that they have. Again, growing up from a different country, I never looked at myself as African American till I came to America, and I went to mostly all Caucasian, 90% Caucasian. I think there was a time where they were trying to segregate where I was raised in Connecticut. So they bused us from the inner city into the suburb schools. So when we got there, it was just a different feel. And I think I've told you this before. I didn't get any hatred toward from the Caucasian people. I got them from my own kind. So growing up, I was like, oh, they had me not liking Black people because they were being mean to me. Again, me being a foreigner and not being from this country, it was the Black kids who were assaulting me and bullying me. Um, so my experience is a little bit different. So I'm thinking that may just the indoctrination of people telling you for centuries what you cannot do, and portion of us bought into it, and the rest of us, by the grace of the Almighty, were able to overcome it. So we have a lot of work to do, but I think having yourself and I and others at our current school site will be good models and examples for those that are behind us. At the end of the day, they have to make their own decision. I always say you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. You could take somebody to church every Sunday. My mom took us to church every Sunday, 3 times on Sundays, because we were raised Catholics. And as we got older, only 2 of us still go to church. So it wasn't like she dropped the ball. She told us all to go to school, but only 2 of us finished school. The other ones didn't go to school. So, but at least we had the motto. And I think my mom just gave us the options. And as you got older, the kids have to decide on their own which road they want to take. And we always want them to make the right choice, but it's easier said than done.
Yes, it's interesting. I know that when you are placed in a position, in a disadvantaged position, you tend to gravitate to the negativity of things,
Right.
and plus when you have parents that don't know, you know, the things that you should be doing and not providing the example of what to do, it kind of weighs on you, and then that could be a lot of the African American children's situation, being placed in a disadvantaged situation. But you know, as long as people like yourself and other educators, you know, work to reform the thought process of children, you know, things could be better. But that's excellent, excellent
Well, I
response.
mean, it's interesting because you know where we work at is 90% Latinos, and for whatever odd reason, the Latinos gravitate more to me than the African American students, and I don't know why. And I think I kind of know why, because when your own kind call you out, you kind of shun from it. You know, I always tell African American kids, you can do all that stuff to distract you. And I always tell them, a lot of you are afraid of your own thoughts. That's why you have the headphones on all day. That's what you have the TV on. You don't want your thoughts to tell you some stuff, you know? So I tell the kids, a lot of you want to get distracted by all the noise out there because your mind is telling you something that you do not want to hear. And if you do hear it, you don't know how to activate what you're hearing from your inner self, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. That's an interesting, you know, like in the introduction, I always say that you have some good examples to relay your messages and making it clear. That's a good example of, yeah, the distractions, all of the other things that draw them away from what's really important. You know, it's a lot of things going on. You know what? I want Professor Amin Ra to chime in on this because I know he has a lot of things to say when it comes to why we're having these issues, the people of color. So, Professor Amin Ra, are you able to unmute? Okay.
Yeah, no, you 100% right. But you know, I always tell people we can come up with all the reason why we're not successful, but we can also look at. I mean, LeBron James did not have a dad at home. He did not have no financial, at least from it's not known to us. He didn't have no financial literacy class that he took when he was in school, and now he's a billionaire business person. So I always tell the individual, you don't it will be great to have everything line up, but if it's not, you still ultimately, I always say to the kids, I don't care if your mama hates you, if your daddy say you're dumb, if your boyfriend, whatever it is, I always say it's what you say to yourself that matters. And I don't think they speak to themselves. So you got to tell yourself what you are and what you're not. So when you get out there, like my mom always told me before I got to school, went to college, she said, you know, you're stubborn, but in all the right way. She said, because you know who you are. So she's not worried about other people trying to convince me to become something else compared to my older siblings, where she said, they don't know who they are yet. So I have to constantly remind them in hope that they don't get persuaded by other people's view or ideology of who they're supposed to be.
Yes, yes. Professor Amin Ra, I see that you're unmuted. Are you able to say anything? That's not. We have also, yeah, probably Doc, Professor Amin Ra probably come back. So,
Okay.
hey Doc, do you want to add to that? Why you think that the African American children are why do they seem to struggle in school, brother Doctor?
You know what? No, I just thought it was interesting, man, where he stated, you know, when you first got here from Haiti, how he was treated by, you know, I don't know, the new term is the Foundation of Black Americans or ADOS. You know, how he was treated, the whites took him in. And now, you know, he's teaching. And again, you know, like I said, the Foundation of Black Americans or the ADOS are kind of getting into it with him, and the Spanish are taking him in. You know, and that's kind of common. Um, Anyone that's not foundational Black American or ADOS, uh, and you consider Black, they're always taken in by the other race. You know, overall, you know, because they know he's not foundational Black American. So that's kind of like a team player for them, and they know that, and it's just normal. I
Yeah,
just thought that was kind of interesting, man. Those two times where another race kind of like, hey, we got your back over Black Americans, man. So and that's normal,
well,
So
yeah,
thought that was interesting.
that's a part of and I just want to chime in on that. That's a part of the divide and conquer, and keeping us divided. And then when you are a person that comes from another country and you're of African descent, and then you join people that are not in their right minds, because if you analyze the situation very closely, you see that a lot of African Americans born and raised here, they take on they first of all, and this is my perspective. I talk about it all the time. They take on the personality of the oppressor. And how can you take on the personality of an oppressor and you being oppressed? So you lose your identity, and plus your identity was already taken away from you. And then when you see somebody like you come from another country, automatically you're gonna not dislike what you don't like, which is yourself. And that's a lot of us that are Black that don't like ourselves. So it's very interesting.
Well,
Go
to
ahead.
chime in,
Go ahead.
I recall my first year, I was so desperate trying to be accepted by the Blacks, because in my teenage years, I did it mostly Latinos because I was in ESL class and it was a bunch of Colombians and people from areas that they didn't speak English. So in trying to reclaim my Black card, I went to all Black school hoping that maybe if I go again, it was my insecurity made me go to all Black school to find my Blackness. But when I got there, I realized, wait a minute, what are you guys preaching here? Because I'm all for Black power, but not at the price of others being looked down upon. I always say, I didn't know who I am. So again, I did try to search and trying to reacclimate myself so that way that I can be accepted. But then I just realized I'm just gonna be me, and then some will like me and others won't. And when I talk to the Black students, I always try to tell them, I'm here, and you look just like me. So when I talk to you, it's because when others see you, they put us all in the same category, and I'm trying to make sure that the view that they have of you, we don't confirm it for them. That's why I always tell the kids, they're gonna always think what they want, but do not confirm it with your actions. Let them think what they want, but make them be wrong by being what you are and what you want to be, and not let them conform you with their views and perception of you.
Excellent. All right, brother California, do you want to chime in on this first question?
No, not at all.
Okay, brother Mashinda, do you want to chime in on that?
Good evening.
How you doing there, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Yeah. So, what was your question?
Question is, African Americans seem to struggle in education compared to other people of color. Why do you think this happens?
So, what? So, like, are you saying that where you work at your school?
Well, I'm just saying it seemed like in general at times,
I mean,
yes, from my
you said-
experience in being in education for 25 years, I noticed
okay.
that most of the institutions I was involved with, except one, because it was an all Black school, which was very successful at the elementary school level. My daughters attended a school that was all Black, and the kids were high achieved. Test scores was off the chart. All the kids were most of the kids were successful and talented. But I noticed that other institutions that I've attended or been involved with, we had the African Americans were kind of on the bottom of the totem pole when it came to achievement. And I was asking Dr. B, what did he think about that? And, why do we think this is so?
Well, I mean, that again, everybody, well, I don't know about everybody, but, it's various factors involved in that, so, um, I mean, I look at when I was coming up, it was predominantly Black children, where I went to school. And we had a lot of successful people who, graduated, who did well. Uh, and so even where I'm at now, and I'm going back in history, but prior to, I guess, integration, we're talking, now in these parts, 1969, 68 is when they integrated finally integrated the schools, so you're talking about, prior to that, prior to the integration of schools, you had a lot of successful people that, nobody talks about because they don't know about maybe, but I can name a high school, Central Memorial High School, a lot of scholars, a lot of, the doctors, the lawyers, all the big name occupations and things like that, did very well. So my take on it is, you talking about modern day brothers and sisters who are going to school in this in this so-called educational system that we have, you know, um, personally, I believe that, you know, you got to have the right people in place to teach the kids, uh, now yourself, mathematician, math teacher, uh, you know, if you're just going in there to teach math, trying to teach them math and not dealing with any external factors, something that they're bringing from home, I call it rough around the edges. We have a lot of children that are rough around the edges. And my approach with them is to show them a lot of love, because a lot of, I believe in love, a lot of the religions, they talk about love, so it's got to be practiced though in the school system, we don't have to get on a religious topic, but I'm saying as it relates to education. So, I've noticed on your shows, you talk about Mr. Neely Fuller and Dr. Cress Welsing. Well, education is one of those areas that's under attack. It has been so, I know it firsthand. And so what do I mean by that? Um, you got children who are coming in to go to school, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in that you got to do your homework. You got to take care of business. You get an assignment, you got to do homework. And, again, so to keep it short, if there's no one at home saying, hey, did you do your homework? Or can I check your homework? Or I can't check your homework because I don't even know how to do your homework. Is there somebody else around that can check this homework? So I look at my household and what we do around here is that we're involved in, every step. We were involved in every step of the way, being able to pull grades up and check on them regularly. When I had I did an in-school suspension stint for a year. I had the kids that were acting up in school doing work, you know. So it's kind of like, being able to identify with them. There's a lot of cultural things that are associated with children from Compton, children from Orange County, depending on where you geographically come from. There's certain cultural things that if you don't understand it, then you might not be able to relate to the children in order to work on those other issues. So it's not a right or wrong. It's not a bad thing. It's just a reality of it is. But at the end of the day, I know my approach is, hey, in every classroom that I ever dealt with in the last 20 years, um, I've not only did I get to know my students, but I knew them well and I knew what was going on in their lives. I can't save the world, but again, but it was a work in progress. So again, this was not an attack or anything like that on anybody. It's just when you're teaching, your clientele, you just do the best you can, but you got to learn their culture, understand who they are, and then work from there. But that's a task in itself, you know. So again, but that's my comment on it, to sum it up is to, basically be able to identify with the students, that's, I did that in criminal justice as well. Some of the worst, so-called worst people on the planet, little bad kids, that turn out to be good listeners, but, but it was a technique. And it didn't always work, but still, if everybody was on board, now that was the whole point. You got school systems, in my opinion, don't have it together. And that lies the problem. It starts at the top. And then, don't get me wrong, we have responsibilities throughout, the bottom, the top, the middle. I'm not taking any responsibility from anybody. But when you don't have a buy-in for the whole student, and I'm not talking about let's create a communist country or anything like that. We're just talking about spending the money, necessary resources, tutoring programs, after school mentor. I remember we had after school programs, Lord knows where I might be if we didn't have these after school programs that were coming up, so anyway, so it's a lot of that's missing that, and so anyway, the kids continue to falter.
Let me move.
They continue to fail because a lot of it's not being addressed, or there's not enough of us to address it or to help address it, But we do have to have responsibility in it, but to try to bring their family in it, that's a tough task in itself, But hey, it got to be done, So if you're not talking to the parents about their children, then they're they might tell you, don't call me, I don't want to hear it, So, but anyway, you asked me a question or chime in, and that's it for now.
Okay. Let me get to Brother Hembrick. Brother Hembrick, you want to chime in on that?
Yes, sir. Just chimed in and heard what the question was of why Black students struggle in education.
Yes.
In the education system. Well, there's several factors like the previous brother mentioned, but from all of my years of involvement, I've been retired for like 5 years now, and taught at the school that you're at, which I loved it there. But the biggest hindrance that I see is the inability to read. That's been going on since they changed from the phonetic system to the whole language approach. I remember when I first got over there at the 10, and I had just been in Linwood for like 11 years, and I got a lot of the students from Willowbrook. If you guys don't know, Dr. Freeman had an outstanding program there at Willowbrook where they had a waiting list of kids to get into the school. But he had a very different system to conquer and battle those early deficiencies that our students suffer from, which is reading, writing, and mathematics. And at his school, you didn't take electives. You took 2 of those classes until you came up to grade level in those areas, which is unheard of. And matter of fact, he was so successful, I guess the Compton didn't like it and ended up running the man out of there, and he went to Inglewood, but he had an outstanding program in that. And first of all, well, not first of all, but another point I like to mention is when we talk about education in this system that our students are in my opinion, it's not true education. What it is job training. And when you get educated, you got to get to the root of the subject, where it come from, who developed it, how did it evolve. And our students don't see themselves in that because they're not teaching, like I say, the truth from kindergarten through PhD in America, even at a lot of Black colleges. And I used to tell students, that your ancestors invented mathematics. What you think it took to build those pyramids, now that came from your people. So math is just something you got to learn. You got to learn the steps, just like reading. You know, once you get the phonetic end down, you know, reading is easy. But a lot of kids, once they miss and get behind, and then they have a lot of defense mechanisms, you know, that they use to try to cover up the fact that they can't read. And it just compound out. You know, there was an old book that most of us had if we ever got a credential in education. It was called, and then there was another one that came out that says why Johnny still can't read. And there's another one called a literacy hoax. Kids can't read, parents can't read. So where's the help gonna come from? And when they banned reading classes in Compton, I used to go to administrators, curriculum instruction at the time. All of the people that held those positions in the Compton schools were European. And so I remembered this lady from high school because she was like my 10th grade counselor, I think. I'm not gonna mention her name, but she was at Centennial. And I went to her and I said, Miss So-and-so, you know, these kids can't read and you don't offer any reading classes at the school. I said, what kind of sense does that make if we're gonna call ourselves an educational institution and kids can't read and you don't offer a reading class? So she goes into some story telling me about, you know, Sacramento went into what they call a whole language approach, and you couldn't have individual reading classes and labs anymore. And I told her, look, I just left Glenwood, which is 2 miles east of here, and they, but anyway, like the brother said earlier, it's kind of built into the system for those kids to fail. You know, that's another factor. Then another one is like he said about the, you know, you caring about the students. You know, they have to know that you care about them. If they know you don't care about them, especially the African-American kids today, because the majority of them are in the system. They're in the foster care system. When I was getting my master's at Centennial in '94, I did a study on the class I had for research. So the guy said, what you doing on your school? So I did it. And 74% of the African-American students were not with either parent. 74%. They were grandma, grandpa, you know, all other stuff, but not with their parents. So that's a factor too. And then with those kids, you really got to convince them that you care and love them, or you ain't going nowhere in terms of trying to educate them. Teachers who weren't hip to the you know, of the kids we're talking about, that they can understand, you know, share. So when you want them to understand a concept, you need to present it to them from what they know. Okay, and then they'll get it, and then you can move on. And that's just my perspective. That's just the success I've had. Because I had kids who were like straight F kids, and once I got them in my class and started teaching them and showed them how to study, I've seen several of those kids go from straight F's to straight A's. But like I say, you know, the kids got to know you care about them. And then, you know, once you get them, and then you can teach them. And then they'll trust in what you're teaching them. So I don't want to linger on, but that's just my perspective from my 39 years of being in the business. So.
That was a good observation. Okay, I'm gonna come back to Professor Amon-Ra. I'm gonna get this third question in with Dr. B. Dr. B, we both teach math on the high school level, and most students struggle with this subject. Why do you think this issue happens? Why are these kids struggling in math so much, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think it's math that they're struggling with. I think they're just struggling with school overall. If
Okay.
you go to look at any of your students' grade, many of them who are failing your class are failing 3 or other core classes also. We just see it from our lens and think it's a math issue. But if they were to just pull out data to be useful, you'll find out, again, my numbers, I'm just going through our random numbers. You're going to find a majority of the students who are failing our classes are failing 2 or 3 other classes. So why are they failing our class? To answer your question, they don't have the structure of how to be successful in school. If you don't have structure, then you can't learn anything in particular. You can't learn math because math is a very structured thing that could become conceptual once you have the procedure down. And I know, like Mr. H just stated, they don't want us to focus on the foundation. You know that when we try to tell them the kids need to go back to basic, and they want us to use algebra tiles. I'm like, algebra tiles for what? I mean, um, the whole again, they masqueraded into these new programs because they don't want you to see that there's no bad. We call them storefront programs. It looks good in the front, but in the back, it's a mess. So I don't think they struggle with math in particular. And so for us to try to find a remedy, they struggle with school. And because we math educators, we get to witness the low proficiency in math, but they've been struggling in school for a long time. We have kids failing PE. You're like, oh, hey, fell PE. You're athletic. You're out there running. So it's not, to me, I don't think we have a math issue in our community. We have a school issue. And until we fix the school issue, the math thing it just present itself because that's the only 2 things they're looking at. If they were testing history and science, they'd be like, wow, the kids don't know history because they're not testing it. It seemed like we have a math issue because, of course, that's what you're focusing on. But I think to conclude, I think the previous speaker said, 2 things you need from anybody, when you're in a relationship with them, you need the permission and the participation. When the kids come to class, they're giving us permission to teach them. But if they don't participate, the permission don't matter.
Yeah, man.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So what we're gonna do is I got one more question, and I think I want to get everybody's input on this. So I'm gonna start with you, Dr. B. So now,
Brother Shani,
yeah,
if I could chime in on that before you go to the next one,
go ahead.
just to piggyback on what the brother said,
Okay.
in terms of our students with mathematics, there's 4 basic operations, which, you're a math teacher.
Yes.
And most of our kids, the ones that struggle, I found, is, they have not mastered the basics like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And I tell them that's all math is. Other than that, the only thing in math other than that is some type of formula. And you learn the formula and then apply the basics in math to the formula.
Yeah.
And, a lot of them forget the formula, but I said, if you can learn these raps in you done listen to it a half hour and you already got it, you can't tell me that you can't remember these formulas and other things. But the basics I found, because when I first started teaching, I was a math teacher. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was going to the resource teacher, and then she teach me and I teach the kids. That was back in '79. And then I used to make them show their work. And oftentimes what you find is one little mistake from the basics throws the whole problem off.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I say those basics are is what is essential, and then just learning the formula after that. And that's all I had to say about the mathematics situation.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna piggyback off of that, Brother Hembrick. Yes, I have a paper on the website called Positive Math Perspective, the Elimination of Negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that paper, I talk about the 4 basic operations and how that has to be memorized in order to keep up while in higher mathematics. If you're able to grasp those 4, on that memory level, when you're getting taught, the formulas that you speak of, you're able to keep up, and that'll keep you going. But if you're struggling, if you're stuck at 2 times 3, and you go to the next step of the formula or the equation or whatever you're doing,
Right.
kid is going to get frustrated and just give up. So I
Right.
talk about that, specifically in the paper, but that's a darn good point. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this last question, and then I think everybody will be able to chime in on this. It's solutionary, this last question. Okay, so I've been teaching for 25 years, and I've been working with kids for 32 years. And, looking at education and analyzing it, being a part of it, I can say this 99% sure that we need educational reform. So now, Dr. B, first of all, I wanted to get what is the state of education and how can we improve it?
Well, the state is dismal. We are failing at a high rate, and our efforts are going to the wayside. Well, I mean, from talking to me during school, my solution is we got to go back to the foundation of of going to the higher power and seeking wisdom, because we're operating in false wisdom. Just because something sounds good doesn't mean it's good, and we fall too many victim to new programs and new ideologies that don't fit our current need, but because it's new and it sounds hip, we fall for it. And an example I could think of, I remember I asked one of my associate pastors at the church I attend, and I said, you know what? I've spent a lot of time with God, and you guys are confusing me. Cause I keep saying 3 steps to the Holy Spirit, 2 ways to pray, 5 ways to fast. And I said, I thought we were trying to build a relationship with him. And I think the gentleman who spoke three person before nailed it. The solution is we have to go back to having a relationship with our students, which, even in my own dissertation, that's what I was able to focus on. We need to have not just African American students, but because this is a platform, we'll just use them. We need to to establish a relationship with them.
I need to leave.
But our system is not allowing us to build a relationship with them, because when you and I trying to take time out of class to build a relationship, what do we get? Oh, you have to complete this benchmark by tomorrow. You're like, wait a minute. I was spending time trying to get to know the kid. I didn't have time to even get into unit 3 lesson. So you and I are always behind because we're actually trying to build a relationship in August and September. But when we do that, we get punished because our test scores get low. Then now we have to talk with the administrator about what intervention. We're like, we don't need intervention. Our intervention is prevention, enrichment, by getting to know the kids. But they are not in the business to do that. They want us to fail, because the more we fail, the more they can push foolish funds into our system to get us all these bells and whistles, and do nothing with it. We all have all kind of technology where we currently work at. And I always say technology don't mean anything. The Bible is more accessible than ever before. Do you think more people are reading the Bible because it's more accessible? No. So it's not an access issue. It's just people are not spending time to invest in whatever it is that they're trying to do. So the solution is go back to the basic of forming relationship. Every school that you find out the kids are being successful, it's obvious they have a culture. And the culture could be tied to sports, it could be tied to the arts program, it could be tied, but every school that you know of, that you hear about, they're only great because the culture of that bring everybody together. We don't have that at our current site. All our teams are losing. All our program, maybe except for the music program, is faltering. So the solution is, let's find out how we can come and build something to make the kids proud of, then now we can use, you can't go to the football game because you have D's and F's. You can't go to the dance because you are not doing well in class. We can't use that at our current site because the kids don't even want to go to the game. They don't want to go to any dance because they is disconnected. So we have to figure out a way how we can connect them, because all the affluent neighborhoods, all the kids know if you don't have your grades, you can't go to the winter formal. Our kids like the hell with the winter formal. We'll have our own house party because there's a disconnect between what they come for and what we are offering them. I hope I'm making sense.
You are. You definitely are. Okay, Professor Amin Ra, I want you to chime in on this. What is the state of education and how can we improve it?
Abani Ghani, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to, thank the speaker and thank my brother Joe Hembrick and you for putting this program on. I heard bits and pieces because it was just a struggle getting on, and I'll talk to you about that later. But I've been an educator, a teacher also. My son's a principal, and all my kids are educators except for one who's a custom agent. And one thing I learned as a teacher, and the primary education unit is the home, and that's where the kid learns to study. The whole purpose, the word student means one who study. You have some kids in your classes that are successful. So if some kids are successful, all can be successful. And sometimes you have to give a rationale for why they should learn and study, particularly your subject. I taught math, and what I would relate it to is their life and why math is important with regards to as a skill to get through life and to improve their life, to how to manage their business, their personal, their money, how to manage their their economics from the standpoint of having goals and things of this nature. Sometimes you have to give kids, young people who come from maybe a foster home or placement home where they don't have the structure that prepares them to go to school to learn and want to learn, because when they come home, they're going to be challenged. What did you learn? And are you learning? And you're going to have parents and or loved ones or whoever is the guardian up there coming up to the school to find out if there's absenteeism, hey, if you're not doing good, I'm gonna come sit in the classroom with you. You have some aggressive parents like that. The challenge that many of you have is that, schools have changed their culture from one in which dealt with the student as individuals, not one shoe fit all or one size fit all. It's one size fit all now for testing. So you're educating people in their time, bonuses and sales to how good your school or your class perform on standardized tests. So whereas we had wood shop, metal shop, home economics, and things of this nature. And when the young man was talking about LeBron James made it in spite of that, well, LeBron had a talent though. He's an All-American in football and All-American in basketball. So that's a whole new different thing when you have a unique talent. There are young people that didn't finish high school, but became great musicians because they were just into their music. Snoop never Snoop Dogg won't show you his report card at Long Beach Poly. But he went on and he mastered his talent, and the system picked him up, and and you may say he's a successful artist and things of this nature for those that like that type of music and stuff, but to some of us it's not. But the point is that as an educator, first of all, you got to love to teach. You got to love to teach, and when you love to teach, you find a way to be an effective teacher. Second, you got to get the student to want to love to learn. So as Joe, I used to go up Centennial, Mr. Hembrick, in your class, and both of you could relate to the student because you grew up in the community and you grew up with the challenges that you know some of them are facing. Maybe they have more technology and things of this nature, but still you knew the streets. You knew that language, and you had the peripheral thought, the peripheral vision to chastise and to deal with them. And they let you do that because they can tell that they can vibe that you knew what you were doing. And when you check them, they know that they were wrong because you wouldn't check them unjustly. You knew how to talk to them. You don't embarrass them. You call them up. You say, hey, man, don't come in late. You know how to deal with the young people. I'd rather meet the challenge when the young man said that he was bullied by Black people. Bullies bully anybody. That's just wasn't bullying you because you was from another country or another sect things. They bullied you because you couldn't hold your own. You had to be able to hold your own, and you had to be able to relate when you coming up as a youngster. We stop people. We take the gang leader or the people and try to get them to chill and don't mess with people. But the point is that the apparatus of today and the politics of the day with regards to superintendents and school boards, they base decisions, because I was on the school board and I was in closed session. 80% of the issues that they deal with have nothing to do with students or nothing to do with staff other than disciplinary, legal issues, who's gonna get a principalship or vice principalship based upon relationships, not based upon experience or qualifications. Every now and then they do that with one person, but the superintendent's in a political position. He could be fired in 6 months, with 6 months notification. And if there's 3 strong board members that tells him what to do, that could mess with him, he's gonna do what they say. But if he can get 3 board members on his side, then they'll do what he say. And how do he get the 3 board members on his side? With incentives, giving them various things, hiring relatives and whoever they want. And then the next thing you know, that's what messes up the administrative standpoint as far as getting the best person qualified and that can move the school. The second thing is that the teachers unions are pathetic when it comes down to creating an environment for the student. All they think about is creating an environment for the teacher. But very few school teachers union give scholarships. Very few of them get involved with essay contests or get involved with truancy or get involved with the issues that teachers face other than salary and union and fringe benefits. And then, they it's like that. Now, that don't mean it's fatalistic, because no matter where you are as a teacher, at home, among brothers and sisters, you teach. That's what you do naturally because you love it, and you study and you have answers, and the whole purpose of teachers is to solve problems. If you have a problem in the classroom, you got to solve it. But at the same time, you can't give up. You can't give up on the kids, and you can't give up on the profession, because it's a sacred profession to be a teacher. Master teachers, you can go all the way back to ancient Egypt, ancient Africa. Our civilizations was built on education. And we learned, so I just think that it's about, not being disheartened because you don't get selected for a certain position when it comes to teaching. You should be understanding the environment and go, apply to other districts. Don't, and things of this nature, because that's, and then hopefully that someone that's looking for someone who can create a culture or can come in and change a culture as an administrator who can relate not only to the students, but to the faculty and the community and build an atmosphere, whereas when a freshman come there, the tone is already set. We study here. Everybody, every classroom is coordinated, leading, and the teachers buy into your culture and buy into your program. Right now, you know, if teachers are hired because the school board hired them, not because the principal selected them, then you're gonna have an issue, you know, or with them thinking they don't have to do what you say because they protected. You know, that's why, I mean, it's just a challenge, but you still got to get around that to run a school and understand the politics of the school and that as an administrator, you realize that you're going to have to do things that you may not want to do, but to be able to be effective and to move your school, you may have to start getting political. You may have to start dealing with going to school board meetings and getting your name known and just being seen as an interested person. But, you know, and then maybe somebody will pick you up at the last minute. But anyway, I think it's a good program. And I think that everybody has made a great contribution this evening. I didn't mean to go that long.
Oh, but that's fine. That's fine. Dr. B, did you want to add something else to that?
No, I mean, he nailed it. He nailed it right on mark. It's just a matter of, I think you and I, in our own personal conversation at work, we both are striving for the next level so we can have more of an impact. And like you said, on the culture of the school. And you have to have, like I always tell you, one day when the time comes, I want to put people that I know that have strength that I don't have. And I think that's a lot of time people get intimidated by people and their strength, you know. And I think, I could be wrong, I think Obama says he was effective because he put a bunch of smart people around him. But current leaders do not like that because they get intimidated. I know your strength, and when the time comes, or if you go before me, you know my strength, and we can partner up and bring other people on board to change the culture of the school, so we can yield the result we're looking for. It's not impossible. Like you said, if kids are passing my class, that means we're teaching. But we have to find a ways to get more of them to experience success. And I think that's what some of the solution are. Some of our kids have not experienced success. And if they did, they haven't experienced it long enough for it to become part of the fiber of who they are. And I think when you guys have raised your own children already, you find out that, you know, little kids, they gain confidence when they have success in something basic. The 5-year-old want to ride the 3-year-old toy because he's mastered it. You know, so success built upon success. And the only reason I use the LeBron James, I was trying to let people know, too many times we're looking for everything to line up. Almost like if somebody's looking for a partner, you're not going to find a partner with all the things that the newspaper tell you is a great person. So you have to find out, what do you have, and let that be what you go after, and stop waiting for everything to line up, which means, like you're saying, I don't have the mom, I don't have the dad, I don't have the structure. And all those things, although they are as vital as everything else, my solution to the kids is saying, okay, now that you don't have that, what are you going to do next? Because it's what you do next that's going to take you to where you want to be, instead of you meddling in what you don't have. And again, I'm trying to help them to change their mindset, stop focusing on what the negativity, easier said than done, but let's look at what one bright spot that you have going for you, and let that be the light that leads you out of this darkness that you are currently experiencing.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So let's go to Brother Mashinda. Did you want to add anything to that? He may not be there. What happened to Brother? Oh, Brother Hembry. Would you like to add anything?
Just a little bit. I hope I don't go too long. Stop me if I do. You know, I tend
Go
to run
ahead,
on
man.
them.
We got a little time. Go ahead and break it down for us, brother.
Well, from an administrative, I've been on both sides, teacher and administrator. And like Brother Rod was saying, the stuff that goes on in the politics with superintendents and school boards and all of that. And it's been matter of fact, the last administrative job, I kind of refused to take. The guy called and asked me if I wanted to do it. And I told him, hell no, and I hung up the phone. And because I already went through a bad experience, years prior to that. But, the central office, oftentimes is in control. The school site is usually tap dancing to what the central office wants. And sometimes as an administrator, you want to change the culture of a school. A lot of people aren't with that. And oftentimes they're not with the manner in which you do it. But Compton's had the best example that you can probably find in the nation, like I mentioned earlier, was down there at Willowbrook with Dr. Freeman. Had a model school, and listen to the other brother that just spoke about the things you offer kids to try to change the culture. You can't have no D's or F's to go to certain events. It's one thing that he left out that Freeman added. He had dances and he had ball games, but he also had movies. And I don't know a kid that doesn't like to get out of class to watch a movie, but you had to have a certain GPA. And I remember Wade, when I was going to Compton High, and we didn't have any tardies for a certain length of time. We were allowed to have a big picnic on campus and that sort of thing. So you got to use incentives that the kids want. But it's been my experience that the top level administrators, the decisions that they make are not for students at all. And that's the problem. And when I used to run into new young administrators, I believe I talked to this brother too, the main speaker you have tonight. I met you a couple of times, brother. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, I do. I know you're Mr. Hamlet.
Yeah. So I was telling them, as long as you're making the decision that's best for the kids, then you can sleep at night. Because oftentimes that's not the case when you're in these administrative meetings and all of that. Because when I was a teacher, I brought up 2 questions in every staff meeting that I was at Centennial and these other schools in Compton. One was reading. I brought that up in every staff meeting we had. They got so tired of me raising my hand saying, and the second thing was no hot water, which is another thing just as bad as the reading. But anyway, when you get the program going and you can change the culture at a school, seem like folks come out of nowhere and attack you, because that's not what they want. They want us to be defeated. And those at the top, I don't know what they're getting broke off to keep it that way, because history has shown when you get somebody in there that is doing it and have success doing it, it seems like the powers that be end up running them out of town. And that's just been my experience. And as far as teachers go, when I was administrator, there's a whole lot of people that's teaching that have no business in education whatsoever. They just couldn't get a job nowhere else. And I've seen some that drive over 3 counties to get to Compton to work. And I always ask them, how come you can't get a job where you live at? Driving from San Diego to Compton, and that particular teacher just sat in the room and read the newspaper all day and falling asleep. So in the words of one of my brothers, had a lot of respect for, us, not with us anymore, made his transition, brother Kaleem Akil used to tell me that all Compton wants is a warm body. And they're hiring. And another point I want to make about hiring teachers is this thing. When you interview a teacher, have them prepared to come teach a lesson. And they never do that. They asked a bunch of questions about this and that, and teachers and people that interview, you can master the question game, but come into this interview and be prepared to teach a lesson to the people who are going to hire you. Then we can find out if the person can teach. Why wait 6 months later and find out they're sorry? And then it's hard to get rid of them, because the time you build up a paper trail to get rid of them, they done moved the principal. You got to start all over again. And that's how it goes. But anyway, I really wish I'd have stayed in the classroom longer, because I could have turned out a lot more soldiers, but the campus was very dangerous. So I came out to straighten out the stuff like Professor Ross said, I'm from the streets, so I know how to deal with that situation to make it safe for students to go to school. I knew at Centennial, a lot of the kids that live in the area were catching buses going to other schools because it was unsafe. It was unsafe. So you got to have safety. And the students used to, and that's the only reason I went back into administration, was to handle that. And the students used to show their appreciation to me about how they feel safe. They can go to class without getting jacked. And then the current superintendent was talking about safe schools, but they took away the people that protect the bathroom attendants. And I like, what do you think bully goes on? Bullying goes on in the bathroom, and you done took the attendants away? It really doesn't make sense. And, people that are from the area that can share information with these people to straighten stuff out, they rarely listen to it. They just don't. I remember when the young brother was at Centennial, can't think his name, but he was appointed by the state administrator to be over there. And I had an idea, because I used to see all these older brothers at the donut shop every morning. That's like the barber shop. And these guys are ex-electricians, ex-masons, ex-barber, all kind of array of jobs that they did. And I wanted to get a mentor program at the school where at least when these kids can learn a trade, and then when they get out of high school, they can earn a living. And I was trying to bring that to him, to get him to, dig into that and get something going, because they took all the shops and stuff out of, well, that was that called industrial arts were taken out of school. And some of the kids, that's the reason they came to school, So when you're not offering anything of interest to them, it's hard to get a kid, because everybody's not going to be an academician. You got the trades, and those things have been taken out of school, and that's another problem why they have a high rate of absenteeism, is because a lot of them feel there's nothing there for them. So I'm gonna end it now, because like I say, I go on and on and on, but I'm really enjoying this program. We're getting these issues out here, and I hope some of these young people that are in education are listening, so they can do a better job for the children.
Hey, thanks.
That's
I appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely have this on the airwaves where people can see it. It's in the archives, and it'll be on YouTube. So people can look and learn, and then, come and visit to contribute to better the conditions that we're faced with. Okay, so I'm about to end. So do anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah, I wanted to say something, man.
Go ahead, brother doctor.
And I don't want to offend nobody either. So don't take offense to anyone. It's very interesting, man, because it seems like all you guys are in the teaching profession. And you guys all kind of touched on the same thing. Professor Amara, Dr. B, and Hembrick. It comes down to the political, the boards, your bosses don't want no changes in the schools, and that's just the way it is, a little political thing. And you guys sat here and said all the issues, which is wrong. You got, you want to change it, but it seems like you can't I'm pretty sure you guys have been teaching for a long time. It doesn't seem like nothing's changed. It don't seem like you guys, the system's never going to change. You guys are just there, man. Uh, it was sad, man. Now I can understand. You guys are just there, man. Like I said, my background, I especially on the rock. I know what he's talking about. I've been on the boards, been on interview panels, and someone come in, interview, knock it out of the park. You want to hire that person, but your boss, hey, yeah, I love this guy, or love her. They did real well, but hey, we got to hire this person's cousin. I've been there. I've seen that, man. There's nothing you can do. But you guys, man, teaching, and you guys explain all the issues. You guys explained all the roadblocks. To me, man, it's not going to change, man. I dabble in stocks. What I'm hearing from you guys, if the school system was a stock, I'd be selling. I'd be going short right now. Because you guys are not going to change nothing, man. It's all good. Kumbaya. Y'all think you're going to do and save one kid. But, man, it's terrible, man, when I'm listening from you guys. You guys are just there. The kids are just there. The kids lack motivation. It's an inconvenience to them. I'm looking right at some of my notes and listen, you guys kept talking about incentives. There's no tangible incentives. Kids don't want to be there. School is not a priority. Black, it's a culture thing. We don't want to be there. We got to be there because it's the law. And something like Dr. B said, hey, I tell you, I can guarantee you this. You tell all the students in your class, hey, I give you a C, you don't have to come back. Black students will take that C in a minute, don't come back. But in the Asian culture, nah, they will take that C. They'll be there to get the A. Like I said, Dr. B said, hey, they're happy with a C or a D. And it's a culture thing, man. And so I got one question. How long you guys been teaching? Over the years, what percentage has changed? You're talking about students, you go in, you want to motivate students every year. What's the percentage per year that you have changed the students? Are you seeing something change that motivates the students? And another thing, man, I don't see no changes next year. I don't see no changes 5 years from now. I don't see no changes 10 years from now. Because like you guys said, man, this is a board. You got people up in the political thing. You guys are getting stopped. You're not going to be able to change it. You may reach 1 or 2 kids. That's fine, man. But overall, the 95% of students, man, yeah, man. Like I said, they don't want to be there. You guys are just there. Like you said, you got people from San Diego driving down, sitting in class, just read a newspaper. Like Rasa Key, remember we was talking when we were going to junior high. We had that one teacher. All you had to do was sit in the class and be quiet. She gives you a C. And like I told you, that messed me up, man. Because when I moved on to the next level, man, I was behind. I just sat there. Hey, you gonna give me a C just to be quiet for an hour? Man, that was cool with me. But now, it hurted me in the long run. I had to figure it out later. But you got half teachers don't want to be there. You got a system against you guys, and it's nothing you guys can do, man. It's nothing you guys can do. It's a white supremacist school system who don't want to educate Black kids, and there's nothing you guys can do, man. It's nothing. That's basically what it's like. I don't want to offend nobody, but man, it's nothing you guys can do.
Well, let me say something, brother doctor.
And I like to piggyback after you, brother.
Okay, yeah. Well, let me just say this. Now, people, I'm in a position where I look at things pessimistically, and then I'll be looking at things optimistically. And I'm in a position now where I know that I can affect change, and I know how I have progressed. And just like I was telling Dr. B, if I can change, if I can get better, somebody else can. And every fight to me is necessary. I know it's grim because we got a massive force of negativity that's against us. But as long as you hear, it's like it's like Kunta Kinte. He never gave up. And that's just an example in a movie. He till his dying days, he struggled and fight. And that's the kind of spirit I have. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing until I can't do it. And then, you know, I have batons that I'm gonna pass when I pass. And by us getting here and talking about it, we, you know, a few people mentioned solutions, what we can do to change things. And I know that there's pessimistic views, and you're gonna have that. But you also gotta have optimistic, I would say optimistic incentive to make things better, especially with yourself, and then it gravitates to other people. I wasn't in this position before. Now I am. I'm able to acquire some materials to help me spread positivity. And that's what I'm gonna do. No matter what anybody say, I'm gonna keep pushing forward and do what I do. And I appreciate everybody that come on here optimistically or pessimistically. But we gonna keep pushing forward. And if I gotta get on here by myself, I'm gonna do it. So I appreciate all of y'all. So go ahead, Brother Rob.
Hembrick is next. That
Uh,
was Hembrick that wanted.
That was Hembrick. That wasn't you, Rob?
I'll come in.
no, that was me.
Later. Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, Brother Hembrick.
Well, to kind of, you know, talk about what the brother was talking about, like it's hopeless. It's not hopeless. You know, I had a lot of success with my students, which is the only thing I could control was my classroom. And I found that when the kids see themselves in the instruction, you know, from a cultural standpoint, they get more engaged into what you're teaching. And I was putting down the truth, the show enough truth. Matter of fact, Brother Akil used to tell me, he said, man, they're going to fire you for what you teaching, you know. And he gave me this assembly bill. He said, as long as you keep this on your wall, you cover it. And it essentially said that you can teach to the heroines of the clientele of students that you have. So, you know, I always included them in it. I brought people in it. I don't know if you're familiar with the baseline essays. Brother Rob probably mentioned it already. But for every subject in school, it has the African development of that, you know, subject, because you know, we're the ones that invented education. And as long as them kids can see themselves in that stuff, they get more engaged, they get more fired up. I was showing all kind of stuff to show them what has happened to them and why they're in the position that they're in, and then what we can do to get ourselves out of it. So the kids really were engaged, and that's why I say I kind of hate that I came out of the classroom for the safety reason, because the kids are really eating it up and changing their whole academic thing, because I showed them how to study and all that. Because like Ross said, if you don't have the structure in the home, the kids don't get it. But a lot of them that got it, they went on to do some great things. I still see them today. Actually, I went fishing with one the other day. This kid, when I was a PE teacher, he was kind of like homeless. And I used to let him cut hair in the gym to get his hustle on, because he was like starving. And so he ended up, you know, getting his own barbershop and everything. And I had a kid that he was a group home kid that, you know, wouldn't take his hat off, kept causing problems. You know, they had the no hat policy back in my day. And so when I was administrator, I called the kid in. I said, man, you got to take your hat off, brother. I can't do it. I said, why? He said, because my hair is messed up. So I said, pull off your hat and let me see. And sure enough, it was like the soldiers with their fists balled up. So that old kid I used to let cut hair in the gym, I called him up. I said, man, it's payback time. He said, what you mean, coach? I said, why don't you come get this kid, cut his hair, and bring him back to school? And he came and got him, took him down the street, cut his hair, brought him persona changed behind the haircut that he had. So like I said, you got to have these relationships and know where they come from, so you can, you know, as like a doctor, you got to, okay, program. And that's pretty much for me.
Okay.
Banagani, can you hear me?
Yes.
You know, and I can understand the good doc position, but when you're a teacher, it begins at your home. Like Brother Hembrick's daughter is studying to be a surgeon in grad school already, a doctor. Him and his wife created an atmosphere where she wanted to get the best grades in science and math, and now she's getting scholarships and she's going to work on a medical degree. Brother the host of the show, Rashiki, how you
Rasaki Maskani.
Rasaki, his daughters, he wrestles with them. He makes sure that, that he's on top of their grades. He wants to see their report cards. Because as a teacher, if you want your kids to get a good education. And so you teach at home. You teach them to want. But you have two, both of them married and they got a stable home. A lot of these kids don't have that. And a lot of these kids, sometimes you have to be a counselor as a teacher, a personal counselor. You have to say, man, let me talk to you. Why are you not doing your homework? And what's going on? And that's what Joe did with the kid with the hat. I mean, why you won't take your hat off? He didn't do it in front of you. You gotta take your hat off. I'm gonna suspend you. He said, hey man, let me talk to you. What's with the hat? The rule. Because he's from the street, he knew how to relate. And sometimes to teach students. Now you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. You told me about the young kid that got shot. That was, that was at Centennial and killed in the car. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. But you never give up. And that, as Brother Hendrick said, in my classroom, I can control that. I can create an atmosphere. Now, when they leave, hey, the best effectiveness of your child is how they act when you're not around. When your parents are around, you always act good. But when you ain't around, what are you doing? Are you smoking weed? Are you drinking? Are you lying? Are you cheating? Are you stealing? Are you breaking in a car? Are you doing something? But but the point is that teaching is the greatest role in life. Your mother was your first teacher, taught you to walk, talk, how to clean yourself. Now, can you see teen mothers and fathers that really want their kid to be hard, man? I want to teach you to be hard, putting tattoos on the kid and doing that. And you gotta deal with that, revolutionize that kid without him going home getting jacked by the stepdaddy or the daddy that want him to be a street thug, or the mother that just see him as a baby or her as a baby, and dressing them up and just they do no wrong and school don't mean nothing, so just go ahead and just look good, or just just go to school so I can get some rest. School is just a place you go. You got to go to school so I can watch my stories or eat. You got parents like that. So you as a teacher, you could see all of that. When you love to teach, you want every student in your class to be successful. And sometimes you have to be resourceful and see where you can show a kid how to get help and assistance. we created free tutoring. Me and Akil came in about maybe 8 years later after it had started, but I used to make my college students come and tutor free at as a part of them earning a grade. So I'm at a university. I say, hey, look, we gonna tutor. So I had it at Linwood High. I still got pictures. I had it at well, I had it at every school that I taught at, in Compton, and then I at Compton College, they would come in, the students would come in, and we would tutor them. And what I'm trying to say is that you do the best you can. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, and you try to encourage and do the best you can to deal with the social issues that the kids are facing. That's not even got nothing to do with learning and in the school structure, but they trying to, you got kids sleeping in cars. You got kids, who won't go home because girls won't go home because their stepfather, or uncle, or brothers are sexually abusing them. You got issues up there when you got 800 students at a school or 600 students at a school, and then you got cultural conflict with the diversity of different ethnic groups that's there for different reasons. To some people, a bad school is a good school because they didn't have no school. You know what I'm saying? So they just happy that they can go. Then there's some people that, hey, look, I'm going there to have fun. I got an audience and I'm gonna show off and I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna hit me somebody, or I'm gonna draw attention. I'm gonna be the king of the school, or, I'm gonna do my game sets and sack and this and that and this and that because, there's an audience. It's a showtime. You understand? When you're from the street, you know all that. You know that because you grew up with it. But the point is that your success is not if the student is successful, did you do your job successfully? Did you do all you could to get that student to learn? And that's the success. It's not about, all the pitfalls and the challenges you face with regards to the politics and things of this nature. When there's no way, you find a way, and that's the beauty that I've seen in both you and Brother Hembrick as teachers. I didn't get a chance to see Dr. B, but I know that y'all are committed to being an effective teacher. I've seen you, Roskini, close your door and tell the students, hey, look. I saw you ask them, man, you missed school the other day, man. You didn't come. What's going on? You didn't do this. You didn't do that. When I come up and visit, I went to Joe's class, and he ain't had nobody just running around, kids jump, not paying no attention, throwing spitballs and all that. He had a disciplinary class. He believed in discipline. And you create that atmosphere. When they come in that classroom, everybody sit down. You run it. You run like you run your house and you run your children because you see them as your children. So I think that there is a lot of success in many students because you judge it by students like Joe, student, it took him fishing. Your student will come back and say, man, I really appreciate that math you taught me because, I'm working for the electric company and I was able to pass the test. Students come back and let you know, or you see them and they remember you because you had an effect on their lives. I see that all the time, and so even though you can't change the culture of all the other teachers and the atmosphere of the politics of a school district, you can control your atmosphere of winning the hearts and minds of those students, and as many of them as you can, and the respect that you really care and that you are genuinely concerned about where they're going to be when they leave school. And so that they see you at the games, they see you at school events, that you may start a young man organization, you may start a situation where Joe teach truth, sacred knowledge. After you cover your subject matter, you take 10 minutes and you give them some sacred knowledge and encouragement and reality. That's within the context of a language, that they can't say that you are racist or that you are using profanity, but you are able to relate. So relationships are very important in being a successful teacher with the parent or whoever is over that kid. I've seen teachers, get on the phone and say, let me call your mother, let me call your father. Hey, look, I need a parent conference or a guardian conference so that we can work with this kid. And that's going the extra mile. That's what I see. And that's the success. Your effort is being an effective teacher is your success as a teacher. The school is a whole new different thing. Is the school successful? Hey, you can't control that, as the doctor said, but you can control you and the atmosphere and your program, as Joe pointed out.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So-
yeah, that explains it. Yeah, good answer. Yeah, man, that was great. Well, let me ask this final question. Something what you just said, and this is more of like a personal feeling, and it goes out to all the teachers here. This is one question, as Professor Amaral said. Hey, you do your best. Let's just take one student. You do your best to help this one student. Let out, do everything you can, the resources to help this person learn, and they just don't get it. Like, Professor Amaral said, hey, you get that one that you did everything you can. You did your best, and you satisfied with that. How does it make you guys feel when it's just that one person, you tried your best, and it just wasn't good enough? It just didn't happen. How do you feel personally when something happens like that?
Let me respond to that, Brother Doctor. Well, we currently finished a semester up, and I had a few students. I'll just focus on one in particular. I had this student. I knew his uncle. You knew his uncle. I coached his father. I had his brother in my class, and I offered the student all opportunities to be successful. I reached out to him, did everything I could do. And once I did that and the student didn't pass, I just said, well, I'm going to take another approach. Or well, I'm a approach the situation better. Well, not better, but I'm gonna approach situation next semester to see if I could help this kid pass the class next semester. So what I do is when I exhaust everything I can exhaust and they still don't pass, I just look forward to the future and kind of learn from the experience so I can build to do something a little bit different. So it's like it's never ending. It's just an energy source to me. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, so let me try something a little different with this kid because I have another opportunity with that kid. And so and then I look to the future of the next students coming in to see what I could do better and make some adjustments. So it's a never ending battle. I have the motto like, man, hey, I'm just gonna keep doing until I can't do. So I'm just gonna exhaust my whole self into what I'm doing, and I don't feel bad because I know that I put in and did the best that I could do. So I don't know if Dr. B, you want to take that?
Well, for me, I don't look at it as a failure success. I look at it, my job is to create an environment where opportunities are possible. Now, those who take it, take it. I mean, You know, God said he came to save the world. Those who want him have to come. He didn't force you to come. He doesn't come chase after you, but the opportunity is there. So in Judgment Day, you can't say he didn't give you the opportunity. So my job every day for me not to get discouraged is because I know every day, and the host will tell you, him and I have many debrief about um, the discouragement that come along. But once he leave the classroom, I we focus on what am I gonna do to continue to create a platform for those who want it can get it. You don't get too caught up on those who don't get it, because then you know it's almost like a pimple on your face. Your whole body is correct, but you focus on the pimple. Of course, education look like our kids. There's more issues than just a pimple issue, but I'm just the teacher that helped me has now allowed me to help others. I had a teacher who didn't give up on me, so I was able to overcome my situation and be where I am today. So I've been in education for about to be 20 years. So I'm sure I've been able to help 5 or 10. It might seem minute to some people, but those 5 or 10 gonna get exposed to another 1,000 or 2,000 plus kids. So it's not a failure. It only seems like a failure because we trying to get, we living in a microwave society where we want everything to be quick. So to me, I don't ever look at my work as, oh, I failed the kids, because the kids know, and the hosts have some of my former students, and they'll tell, oh yeah, Dr. B wanted to help, I just didn't want it, and as long as they're okay with that, then it's fine with me. Now, do I like that they make the bad choice? No, but I don't lose sleep thinking that, oh, I'm a failure, because they'll speak from their own mouth that Dr. B, they're trying to help me. And I think you have to be okay as an educator to be okay with people not wanting the help when you're trying to offer it. And it may be nothing wrong with them. They may have their mom and dad, they may have everything they need. And at that moment, they're just not ready for it. And you have to be okay with them saying no to what you're offering them. Although we thinking, oh, it's gonna change your life. But if they're not ready for it, you know, why lose sleep over it? You're not gonna get it to them.
Yes, sir. Well, that's yeah. That's you don't give up the fight. And hey, I always say that I always extend my hand, but it's their choice to take the hand. You
Well,
know.
it's not just that either.
Yeah.
It's that when you're a teacher as long as we have, you have those experiences. Whereas even some of the good kids can go bad. You know, some of the kids that you had that were successful, next thing you know, you heard they in the penitentiary for doing something silly, got caught up in drugs or something. Then you take the kid that didn't pay you no attention. You thought he wasn't paying no attention because he didn't do his classwork. He comes back and he be successful. So you know that's the key. You know you have a formula, and that formula is to show love, show these be competent in your teaching and your teaching skills, and you judge that by how many students you can reach, not by how many you don't reach. That's your effectiveness. And then because there's a lot of reasons why that student may not let you reach them. You know, they have their own agenda. You know, sometimes you got man-child in there, and the kid got to go to work after school. That's why he don't do homework, because he got a job and helping with the family and things of that nature. So there's a lot of factors that goes into students that don't necessarily do the homework or get good grades in the class and things of that nature. But at the same time, you have to be honest to that student and let them know that, you know, especially when you're in a subject like math, reading, English, you understand not just social studies or something like that, but, you know, not that that's not important, but, you know, those skill classes that he needs for the next grade, and that's going to be tested on. But his real test is you preparing him for life, you know, especially on the high school level, you know, saying, man, you know, you know, you're a senior, brother. After this, you don't go to school no more. Ain't nobody waking you up, making you go. Right now, you have to come or you go to juvenile court. And then when you're in juvenile court, they make you go to school. But after that, can you make yourself into something? And some do and some don't. But you don't get down on yourself when you play a good game and you work hard and you still don't come out the winner. You know, hey, you did your job. Just do your job. You know, and when it's a team effort, you can't help it if you pass the ball to a cat and he missed the shot. You pass the ball, he travel, or he don't block and let you get thrown for a loss. But you did your job. That's the key of you feeling good, because you're dealing with humans. One of the hardest things in the world, hardest thing to work with is another human. You can work with a machine, you can cut it off, get a new machine, fix it, or do what you got to do to make it work. But humans is a whole new different ball game. You understand? And you know, you have to be worried not only for the safety of the student, but your own safety when you're in certain schools, because some students come there and they have issues, psychological issues, and psychiatric issues, and some get high and be on drugs. You're dealing with a lot of factors in public school. In private school, it's a whole new different game. The parents paying, the parents gonna be involved, parents gonna, because they're putting out money. But when they come to public school, you gotta take all students. Along with they got their vaccination, as Akil used to say, you gotta take them. And so you're dealing with an entree of issues, language problems, culture problems, all that. But you got to stay steadfast on your job to try to reach as many students as you can and be effective as you can. And that's all you can do. There's a lot of reasons the student don't be successful, and it has nothing to do with your teaching ability. When you taught a long time and you know that you have reached a significant amount of students that have gone on to college or gone on and got a job or gone on and being a good person, you know you're effective. And you know that you reach them, especially if they give you credit for making them a better student in other classes. Because you reached them and motivated them to want to learn and want to be a better person. You understand? And you got the anger out of them. You got the self-doubt out of them. You got the self-hatred out of them. You made them feel like they are somebody, and that they have a future and they have a vision for where they want to be, and how they want to be through your effectiveness as a teacher. So that's how you measure it. You understand? To me.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. Just imagine, you guys, I used to get this teaching back at Long Beach State on a consistent basis. So it's wonderful, man. I'm just, I'm glad everybody, came this evening. Dr. B, special thanks to you. Special thanks to everybody. I'm just, this is wonderful, and we're going to keep doing it until we can't do it. And hopefully somebody else will take over. But yeah, so next week, you guys, my daughter's going to interview me. And then, hopefully again, you guys can show up. It's open to anybody that want to come. I'm going to be interviewed. So I'm going to be on the other end. And I just appreciate everybody, and we're going to end it. And remember, our motto is each one teach one, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
All right.
So I'll take sign up 2 times 9.
Happy Kwanzaa, everybody.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Right.
Take care, everybody.